I now move my attention to Dr. Anuruddha, President of the GMOA. Dr. Padeniya, you brought in some interesting facts, the 5 points that you discussed with the WTO head and you presented to the government. What was their reaction like?
I think whenever we present this book, there are enough photographs with the President, everybody, and now we have gone down to the opinion leaders like clergy, and which is taken from a political angle. It's not, we are trying to educate the public, because the reason behind this thing, earlier the encroaching countries, invading countries were done through military means, but today it is, you can do it through trade agreements as well, which is done worldwide. There are enough literature. So therefore, this is, we consider, unless we study the matter and approach it, this can be economic warfare. So therefore, what we are not having an extreme idea, we are saying is, we have to go with a studied approach. But you just a moment ago said that whether you want an ad hoc approach or you want a policy-oriented approach. This is what the so-called good governance, with it, the real meaning of it. So therefore, first of all, we have to review the existing trade agreements and put that in order. Now, what you said is that Indians can come to Sri Lanka, whereas I can't go and work in India unless in the private sector or the government sector, wherever, because the Indians are much more protective from that point of view. So therefore, first of all, you have to review the existing trade agreements as it is done by a simple businessman. You have to do, though it is in the countrywide manner. The second thing is establish a national policy. Even African countries, they have a national policy on trade agreements. What do you mean by good governance without establishing a national policy? When we told that you want to establish a national policy, there is a bogus national policy is been now going to be placed very soon in ad hoc manner. To develop a national policy according to this itself, it takes time, and we have to get the consensus and the consultative process in order to do that, which is not taking place as it appropriate. The second thing is put in the sector interest and the sector safety, both by bringing regulations and other things are in place, as you very correctly told, and you even suggested me to do trade union action on that matter, because that is not only putting us in trouble but the citizens of this country as well. And fourth step is very importantly, rather than making any blanket statement that this is going to benefit country and the unemployment will be eradicated and other things are no meaning unless it is qualified and quantified how exactly it is going to benefit and when and how, and it had to be audited. Then the last point, as everybody had re-emphasized, the accountability, transparency and all these things which are requested by, and those are what we have signed in the WTO agreements, will have to be ensured. So these are the important points.
It's a follow-up from a comment that Dr. Padeniya made. I'd like to quote from the WTO Mobilizing Business for Trade in Service Guide. It says, there has been much debate about sequencing or the order in which regulation and liberalization should occur. It is clear from experience that services should not be liberalized in developing or developed countries unless adequate underpinning domestic regulations supported by effective regulatory institutions are in place. Now, Dr. Padeniya...
You read it from which one, which document did you read it?
This is from the WTO Mobilizing Business for Trade in Service Guide from page 37. You are one of the main stakeholders. So aren't your responses, ideas being taken into consideration by the government? Is that what you're saying?
Government in the sense by the Department of Commerce or the Ministry of Honorable Malik?
The Ministry?
The Ministry, we have made representations, but we don't see them accepting those and putting it into action. They on one hand they say they negotiate with the stakeholders, but on the other hand they go and say, okay, who opposes, we are going to sign it. So that is incorrect.
Dr. Wijewardana, do you not think that such an ad hoc approach will lead to such things as us having to go into international arbitration in the event of dispute resolution mechanisms, which will be a complete burden on taxpayers' money?
Exactly, definitely. I mean, for the 5 steps which Dr. Padeniya has just mentioned, I fully agree with that. I don't see why the government has any reason to not to listen to these 5 steps, because for us to do any kind of an economic planning, these are the steps that we have to go through. So therefore, if there is any objection on the part of the governmental authorities not to listen to the voices of the people who have also stake in this particular kind of an affair, I think it leads to lots of problems for the future. So the best thing for a country to go for a lobbying company, it should be transparent, because one of the factors which Dr. Padeniya has been mentioning is that whatever the economic action being taken by Sri Lanka, it should be transparent, because at the end the government is using taxpayers' money. If the government is using taxpayers' money, any hiring of any lobbying company should be done in a transparent manner. It has been disclosed to the members of the public. People should know why the company has been hired, and as Dr. Padeniya has mentioned here, the performance has to be reviewed after that. Whether the money that you have paid has delivered the product that we had asked for.
Professor Abhiratna, one of the key issues that have been highlighted both by Dr. Padeniya and Dr. Wijewardana has been that there's been a lot of secrecy surrounding ETCA and the ETCA negotiations. Now, you're an economics academic. As an academic, do you see any justification for secrecy in negotiating bilateral trade agreements?
Given the kind of political environment that we are living in, I don't think there is a justification, any kind of justification for that kind of secrecy, and I also fully subscribe the 5 steps that Dr. Padeniya mentioned, and one of them, I think the last one, is about the transparency.
So why is the government being so secretive about this agreement?
Which areas the government has been secretive?
Well, about this whole, because it's been exempted even from the Right to Information Act.
Yes.
Information pertaining to negotiations on bilateral trade agreements has also been exempted. So why is the government looking to be secretive? Because usually when someone is trying to do something in secret, it's very suspicious.
Yeah, we can't give a direct answer to why the government is doing secret things, and we can give answers.
But does it make you suspicious?
Assumptions and.
Does it make you suspicious? When someone is doing something secret,
that's part of the problem. Actually, that's part of the problem, because certain things are not exposed to the stakeholders of any event, and even the ETCA. And then when the things are not exposed enough, I think that has become a questionable issue, and then lot of doubts are created, and so that it is coming under a lot of criticism as well. So I don't think it is a right approach to